Earlier this week, the Biden administration approved one of the largest oil developments on federal land, a decision that came after months of intense lobbying and over-objections that the project, known as Willow, would undermine U.S. efforts to phase out fossil fuels worldwide. For weeks, this Alaskan oil development more than 4,000 miles from the White House became central to the country's debate over climate change. Willow is an oil reserve in Arctic Alaska controlled by the oil company ConocoPhillips. It's on Alaska's North Slope, less than 30 miles from the Arctic Ocean. The region is in the National Petroleum Reserve Alaska, or NPRA, the nation's largest piece of public land. The region, about the size of Indiana, was first recognized by President Warren G. Harding in 1923 and designated specifically for oil and gas development by the Naval Petroleum Reserves Production Act in 1976. The law created special rules for oil and gas extraction and set aside some areas for maximum protection of the environment. Today it is one of the most promising regions in the U.S. for new oil, but is also a key habitat for polar bears as well as tens of thousands of migrating caribou and waterfowl. Willow is now the biggest oil project under consideration in the country, according to consulting firm Wood Mackenzie. ConocoPhillips estimates its cost at $8 billion to $10 billion. That has also made it a top priority for climate activists. They are pushing to reduce fossil fuel consumption as a way to cut the emissions that cause climate change, and have tried to stop major investments like this as a way to push the world away from oil. This project is especially vulnerable to public intervention because it is on federal lands and requires federal permits to go forward, and Biden had promised to end new oil drilling on federal land. The Bureau of Land Management estimates that Willow could produce 576 million barrels of oil over 30 years. Initial gravel mining and road construction work has already started for the development, which will have a total footprint of 499 acres, according to the administration's final decision. For comparison, that is 2.5 times the area the Washington Commanders recently acquired to build a new football stadium. Willow's plan includes hundreds of miles of roads and pipelines, airstrips, a gravel mine, and a new processing facility in the middle of pristine Arctic tundra and wetland. Burning Willow's oil would also put into the atmosphere an estimated 239 million metric tons of carbon dioxide during the project's 30-year lifetime, or the equivalent of driving 1.7 million gasoline-powered cars a year. That number assumes that, if the ConocoPhillips project didn't go forward, no other oil producers would pick up the slack. Under estimates from the Biden administration, even if Willow doesn't get built, the United States and the rest of the world will still burn a large amount of fossil fuels. Supporters say new oil from Alaska will help ensure the U.S. has a reliable, domestic supply of energy. That is important for limiting the country's and its allies' reliance on oil suppliers often run under authoritarian regimes and weak environmental regulation. Willow is also estimated to produce billions of dollars of economic activity and tax revenue in Alaska, where state leaders and many Alaska natives say they need a boost to a flagging economy. But access to oil like that could also help prolong the country's reliance on fossil fuels, with no guarantee the technology will be in place to stop their contribution to climate change. Because the Biden administration approved it, the project may also undermine the president's credibility in pushing other countries to develop cleaner alternatives instead of oil and natural gas. And many locals are less enthused about the oil revenue and more concerned the project may harm local animal populations that are key to the community, degrade the region's air quality, and lead to spills, leaks and blowouts that can come with major oil development. Activists aggressively protested Willow in part because Biden had made big promises to prioritize environmental protections, climate change and an end to drilling on public land. Administration officials said those were important issues that influenced the project, but not enough to stop it. They said that instead they were limited by the law that governs NPRA and the leases that ConocoPhillips has held since long before the Biden administration took office. The law gives a company with such leases the right to develop, and strong legal standing to fight the government if it tries to block that work. If rejected, ConocoPhillips could have sued, potentially won billions of dollars at taxpayer expense, and still been able to develop the project anyway, legal experts have said. Now that the Biden administration has given the Willow project the green light, construction can begin. However, it is unclear exactly when that will happen, in large part due to impending legal challenges. Earth Justice, an environmental law group, is expected to file a complaint against the project soon and will likely seek an injunction to try to block the project from going forward. Construction on Willow can only be done during the winter season because it needs ice roads to build the rest of the oil project's infrastructure, including hundreds of miles of roads and pipelines, and a processing facility. Depending on the weather, the Alaska's winter season could end sometime in April. If environmental groups secure an injunction before then to stop or delay the project, it could delay construction for at least a year. And since the project needs to be fully constructed before the oil can be produced, it could take years for the oil pumped out of Willow to reach the market. Meanwhile, a massive oil and gas lease sale, one of the largest in U.S. history, is scheduled for the Gulf of Mexico on March 28. The petroleum located beneath the seafloor in the leasing area for lease sale 259 could produce more than 1 billion barrels of oil and 4 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. Here again is a staggering carbon bomb in the making, just beginning to work its way through the federal approval process. Earth Justice has also brought a legal challenge against Gulf Lease Sale 259. Residents of Nuiqsut, the Inupiaq community closest to the proposed Willow project, is already inundated with oil and gas drilling sites that have wreaked havoc on their life and livelihood. Both the city of Nuiqsut and the native village of Nuiqsut have voiced opposition to the Willow project. In their letter, they cite numerous concerns they have with the project, including lack of adequate consultation, the significant impact on the health of Nuiqsut residents, and the imminent detrimental loss of access to food subsistence resources.